Most people spend their whole lives around people who will never understand them. And the worst part? They already knew this at age 12. They just kept hoping it would change. Arthur Schopenhauer, arguably the most brutally honest philosopher who ever lived, said something that most self-help gurus will never dare to repeat. The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. In plain language, dumb people don't know they're dumb. They move through life with zero friction, zero questions, and zero discomfort, because they never go deep enough to feel the confusion that smarter people feel every single day. And if you've ever felt like you're surrounded by people who just don't get it, this video is for you. Because Schopenhauer didn't just diagnose the problem. He gave us a roadmap for surviving it without losing your mind or your soul.
Let's start with the real problem, not what you think it is. When a genuinely intelligent person walks into a room, whether that's a boardroom, a family dinner, or just a group chat, they almost immediately sense a kind of invisible wall. The conversation feels shallow. The jokes feel hollow. The consensus feels lazy. And they can't explain why without sounding arrogant. So they go quiet. They smile. They nod. And slowly, quietly, they start to disappear. Psychologists call this intellectual loneliness. It's not about being a snob. It's about having a brain that runs at a different frequency and spending years searching for a radio station that plays your signal. Schopenhauer lived this completely. He was born in 1788 into a world that rewarded certainty, social performance, and loud confidence. He was the opposite of all three.
The consequences are slow. They're quiet. And by the time most people notice them, years have already slipped by. Consequence number 1. They shrink themselves. They stop saying the real thing. They start editing themselves in real time, before they even finish a thought. They learn, early and painfully, that their full honesty makes people uncomfortable. So they compress themselves into a version that fits the room. And after enough years of this, they forget what the full version even felt like. They become the calm one, the quiet one, the listener. Not because that's who they are, but because it was safer. Consequence number 2. They start resenting the wrong people. When you spend too long in environments that don't match your inner life, you start to feel a slow, grinding resentment. You start thinking, why is everyone so shallow? Why doesn't anyone care about anything real? But Schopenhauer would stop you right there. You are resenting people for not being something they never claimed to be. You walked into a supermarket and got angry there was no poetry on the shelves. That's not their failure. That's a mismatch in expectations.
Consequence number 3, and this is the one that really does the damage. They confuse intelligence with superiority. After years of feeling different, some intelligent people make a crucial mistake. They decide that different means better. They start performing their intelligence as a defense mechanism. They become condescending, not because they're cruel, but because they're wounded. And the moment that happens, they lose the very thing that made them special. Because true genius, according to Schopenhauer, is never arrogant. Arrogance is a product of insecurity. Genius, real genius, is defined by an almost bewildering capacity for observation and compassion, not judgment. The brilliant people who actually change the world are not the ones who look down at the crowd. They're the ones who look at the crowd with a kind of quiet, aching tenderness, understanding that most people are doing exactly the best they can with the brain and circumstances they were given.
So how did Schopenhauer actually deal with it? He did 3 things, and none of them are what you'd expect. First, he chose solitude without bitterness. Schopenhauer spent huge portions of his life alone, not because he was antisocial, but because he understood something most people never learn. Solitude is not punishment. Solitude is sanctuary. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. He never confused social engagement with the need for social approval. He moved through the crowd without needing the crowd to validate him. Second, he stopped trying to convert people. The intelligent person's deepest, most exhausting habit is trying to explain themselves to people who were never going to understand them. And when it doesn't work, which is almost always, they feel rejected, invisible, like something is wrong with them. Schopenhauer would say, stop. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer performing. You're no longer editing. You're just yourself, fully, in any room, around any person. Third, he treated ordinary people with genuine respect. Not condescension, not false warmth, but real respect. He understood that most people are not stupid by choice. To judge them for not thinking deeply is like judging a man with no legs for not running. Here's what most people miss about this whole conversation. We spend so much time asking, how do I deal with people who don't understand me? But Schopenhauer's real question was different. Are you sure you understand yourself? Because the painful truth is this. Most intelligent people who feel chronically misunderstood are not just misunderstood by others. They are misunderstood by themselves. They have spent so long adapting, hiding, editing, and performing that they've lost touch with what they actually think, what they actually want, what they actually are underneath all the social armor. Schopenhauer believed that the highest form of human development was not social success. Because a person who truly knows themselves cannot be diminished by a world that doesn't understand them. When you know who you are, really know, then other people's inability to see you stops being a wound. It becomes almost irrelevant. You can receive connection as a gift, not cling to it as oxygen. Schopenhauer spent his whole life being one of the most unpopular philosophers of his era. He died having sold almost no books. He was mocked, dismissed, and misunderstood by almost everyone he met. And yet, in his final years, he was described by visitors as the most peaceful, contented man they had ever met. Because he had stopped making other people's understanding the condition for his own wholeness. Not how to tolerate stupid people, not how to feel superior to them, not how to escape them, but how to become someone so genuinely rooted in yourself that the question of whether others understand you
becomes far less important than the question of whether you understand yourself. The world will always have people who don't see what you see. That will never change. The question is, will you let that stop you from seeing? Schopenhauer did